all. We are live on Ramadan Radio FM, 87.7 FM. It's the second week of Ramadan. I hope it's been a blessed one so far for you all. I pray that you're getting loads of goodness and amazing accomplishments out of it. And we are here with my second show this Ramadan. It's Your Hospitals, A Place to Pray. And I am Aasiya Parekh, Corporate Fundraising Officer for Leicester Hospitals Charity. I'd like to start by reminding you all of the text and WhatsApp number. It's 077 488 55055, and the phone number is 0116 4822 086. I'll repeat those again. 077 488 55055. That's for text or WhatsApp. And if you'd like to phone in to speak to us today, it's 0116 4822 086. I believe we are live on both Facebook and YouTube today. So if you're listening from there, please do drop comments in to the comment box or the chat box on YouTube, and we can read them out through the show, inshallah. Like I said, I'm Aasiya, and I'm here to present a show called Your Hospitals, A Place to Pray. Jazakallah to everyone who's tuned into my shows in the past, over the years, or whether that have been last week or however long ago that might have been. And I'm going to be here every Thursday in Ramadan between 1 and 2 p.m. I've got a guest today with me. I'm going to ask him to introduce himself in a moment, but he is Singh. Kartar is Head of Chaplaincy for UHL. Hi Kartar, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Aasiya, and thank you for inviting me to join you this afternoon. It's wonderful to join you, but also to all the listeners out there, wherever you are. I hope your Ramadan is going really well. I hope your prayers and du'as are answered and are accepted.
Ameen. Thank you, Kartar. So, like I mentioned, Kartar is Head of Chaplaincy for Leicester's hospitals, all three hospitals of Leicester, and he's here today so that we can talk to him in a bit more depth about what he does as his role, what his day-to-day looks like, the spiritual care centre appeal that we've got running on, why it's so important to the community to have somewhere within our hospitals to pray, to reflect, for well-being of staff, patients and their families. So we will get straight into it, hopefully. A quick bit of background on Leicester Hospitals Charity. So we are the official charity for all three hospitals in Leicester. We fund all departments, all wards, everything within the hospitals that is funded through charitable donations usually comes through Leicester Hospitals Charity. We fund everything. We fund anything from a toaster to Eid gifts last year to huge surgery robots that cost a lot of money. We fund all sorts of various different things. And one of our projects and biggest appeals for this coming year is the Spiritual Care Centre appeal, which we are working with Kartar on and the team on really closely. So to get into kind of the zone of the spiritual care setting, what is spiritual care within the hospitals, Kartar, and why is it so important?
So one of the things that it's probably really helpful to share with listeners is no one goes in hospital because they feel like it. It's normally something's gone wrong in life, something's not quite right, and it means that you've ended up having to come into hospital. Sometimes it's to visit a loved one, an elder, family member or a relative, or sometimes you've become unwell and you're needing to come into hospital. Now, hospitals are fantastic places because the staff there are absolutely caring. They've got a real sense of looking after patients. Medicine has increased exponentially in the amount of treatments that we can offer people. But whilst all of that is going on, once those treatments are taking place, whilst all of those signs and checks are being conducted, who do you have to talk to? Sometimes it's just that little thing that makes a difference. And that's where the chaplaincy service and spiritual care becomes a huge part of the work that we do. Now, spirituality is everyone's responsibility. Everyone has a sense of spirituality. And the way I would define that is that which gives life hope, purpose and meaning. What gets you up in the morning, what helps you through a difficult day, what helps you go through the day without having a single morsel of food. What is it that motivates you? And a lot of my Muslim friends who I've talked to over the years, they always say to me, the fasting is not difficult. It's when you get into that mind frame, that prayerful mind frame, that sense of thinking of others, when your mind is focused on that, the day goes through a lot easier than you would realize because your focus, that thing, that purpose, that meaning behind this month becomes so much more stronger. And in hospitals, those questions of meaning and purpose and hope become so much more clear. Because if you've had a heart attack, or you've had life-changing surgery, or you've lost a limb, it means that what you saw life like before coming into hospital and what life has thrown at you and where life may go from that point on, it's changed. One of the gentlemen I spoke to many years ago had lost one of his legs. And the thing he was grappling with was this sense of, well, what am I going to do with my life? A very fit, active young man now doesn't have one of his legs. You know, it's going to impact his work. It's going to impact his life. You know, am I going to be able to lift my children up as I used to?
Yeah.
Spiritual care is about responding to those needs. Now, lots of people in the hospital is part of nursing. Spiritual care is an important part of the care that's provided. But for chaplaincy, it's our daily life. It's our bread and butter. It's the thing that we do at all times. And I would say it's divided into three key aspects. So as chaplains, we provide pastoral care, spiritual care, and religious care. So pastoral is about being alongside people through difficult experiences, because there's a Punjabi saying, "Kalla kalla do gyara," that 1 + 1, 1 and 1 together makes 11. And sometimes it's just having someone to be there alongside you, just to offer that support, can just sometimes lift you up. You can feel that I'm not alone in this. Sometimes very prayerfully, if you remind yourself that the Almighty is with me, you feel a sense of calm, ease, protection. You feel a connection. You don't feel so lonely. It feels okay in sometimes. In that same way, the pastoral care a chaplain offers is to be alongside people through whatever life throws at you, whether it is coming through difficult news or experiencing new realities. Spiritual, I've talked about hope, purpose, and meaning. Everyone has that, and everyone expresses it in different ways. For some people, it is in relationships. Some people, it's family. Some people, it's music. But for others, it's in their religion. And then religious care becomes an important part of what we deliver. And that is making sure that, I know for any Sikh, Hindu, Muslim, Christian, or whatever faith you are, you don't walk into the hospital and leave your faith at home. It comes with you. It helps you in your day-to-day. And for us as a service, it's making sure that our patients have their religious needs met, catered for, and appreciated and valued as a part of holistic care. Whole people come into hospital. We treat the whole person. We serve the whole person. And that's where religious care comes in. And as part of that, it's recognizing that there are things that are important to any of my Muslim brothers and sisters out there. How do we ensure that the hospital itself, in the service it provides, that personal care, recognizes what does it mean to a Muslim being in hospital? What does it mean to a Christian being in hospital? What does it mean to be a Sikh? And how can we make sure that their times for prayer, the practices that they may have, the desire to have a Quran with them, how do we make sure these things are taken care of or supported? And where staff need particular support or access to care, they can contact the chaplaincy service to get in touch, to offer that broad spiritual care, because it's about holistic care, it's about people, it's about compassion and caring.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's incredible, because actually we've been colleagues and I'd like to say friends, absolutely. Friends, for a little while now. And I didn't know that the chaplaincy offers this entire, these three separate elements and brings them together and provides a service based off of all of these different elements of care. And it's incredible to hear you talk so much about and the knowledge that you have around the different faiths and the needs of like the Muslim community, for example, because I'm sure you'll second me on this. And we were just talking about it in the car on the way here, weren't we? That it's not a common thing to look at yourself or me, if I was talking on Sikhism, for example, to think that I would have that level of knowledge, and the same for you, where you've got a very good level of knowledge actually on Islam and Muslims. So it's refreshing to hear your take and your experiences within and outside of the hospitals, because I know you do a lot in this kind of setting for various different organisations, which we'll touch on a bit later on.
I think there's two parts. That one is, as a chaplaincy service, we're here for everyone, whether they have a religious faith or not, whatever their faiths or belief. And therefore, it's important for our service to recognise the needs of our communities. But for me personally, there's something about, I recognise faithfulness in people.
Yeah.
I understand what it means to a person when they pray and they find a sense of peace, because I understand that deeply and personally.
Yeah.
And therefore, would it not be right and true to create those opportunities and spaces for others, understanding how transformational these things are? but also understanding your brother, understanding your neighbor. How can I serve someone well if I don't really understand them? Understand what it is that lifts them up, what it is that they might struggle with, what it is that their faith teaches. And so for me personally, there's something about appreciating and understanding people of all faiths and understanding enough. Now, I'm not saying I know everything, and that's where I'll reach out to my imams and say, look, Mulana Dawood or Imam Faz, can you give me some guidance on this? This is how I understand it. Can you give authentic clarification? Or Ruqayya, my Muslim female chaplain, can you give me some of your wisdom? Again, I'm always learning, but I think every one of us is on that journey. And in my own faith, I'm a Sikh. A Sikh means a student or a disciple, a journey of learning. Each day we learn to be better and try to just be a better person in all this and become closer to God in our own way.
Yeah, incredible. Thank you for that. So, moving back towards spiritual care as in the space that we have, can you tell me what is currently available? So we've spoken in depth about the service that the chaplains in the chaplaincy team provides. We've got a comment. Demelza from the office the team are listening in. Looking forward to hearing what you have to say, Kartar. Amazing. Hi everyone. Cam, Anna, Demelza. Who else is there today? Maliha, Becky. I feel like I've missed someone out. Sandeep. Nearly. Hi everyone. Thank you for listening. And I'm sure Kartar is going to provide a huge level of insight into the Spiritual Care Centre appeal in a second. So we spoke about the service, like we were saying, the chaplaincy service and the kind of care that the people provide to the people. What is available in terms of facilities then?
So across our 3 hospitals in the site, so our service covers UHL and LPT, so that's the community hospitals as well. But in the 3 main hospitals of Leicester, each of them has a multi-faith room and it'll have a chapel space. But focusing primarily on the Leicester Royal Infirmary, where all of these great plans that we've got, all these things that we're imagining right now will take place. We have got a Muslim male prayer room, we've got a Muslim female prayer room, we've got a Hindu Sikh, a Dharmic room, and we have a Christian chapel. Alongside obviously understanding the need for Islamic prayer, the need for wudu facilities, and having a clear access path from those wudu facilities to the prayer space. That's what we have there right now. Now, in some ways, it's right off the Balmoral corridor, so it's quite a central location, which is great, so that, if doctors or consultants or nursing staff or patients need to access these spaces, they've not got to travel a long distance away to get to them. But they are very functional spaces. The corridor is beautiful. It's got almost a forest scenery there. But then you go to the rooms themselves, and they are just rooms. Now, if I looked at the Muslim prayer rooms in particular, they have the carpets, which have particular markings, which those of you, I assume most of you will have seen what the inside of a mosque looks like, has a sense of direction for prayer. Again, in the communal prayer, people are often shoulder to shoulder or alongside one another. So we have that on the carpets, and we have obviously a small shelf where prayer books can be kept, the scripture can be kept, again, recognizing it's important for those to be high up, to be kept clean and respectful to scripture. And then we'll have a small cupboard in the back where there might be other prayer materials or mats or other things that are kept in those spaces. But that's it. They are bare walls, and it's just like any room. It doesn't really capture what it is that where we want to get to. And the chapel itself, so historically we had an old Victorian chapel, beautiful chapel space. But a few years ago, when the new A&E department was being rebuilt, with agreement, that was demolished. And so the chapel that we have now is just, a small functional room. It's there as a chapel. It has an altar. But that's it. We have a small food bank in the corner there. And again, the Hindu Sikh room, again, it's a room which has space where people can sit. It has, for the Hindus, a small shrine. For the Sikh, it has a Sikh symbol. Again, just creating spaces of prayer for people to utilize. And again, if you sat in the hospital, in the prayer rooms throughout the day, you will see all sorts of people come in. Some people will just come in briefly to say a small prayer. Some people will want some quiet time. Families will use that space just to have somewhere to go when they're away from the wards, somewhere where they may want to just pray or just cry or just sit.
Yeah.
You will have Muslim staff coming throughout the day to do their prayers. There's a wonderful energy in that space, people coming and going throughout the day.
Yeah.
And that's what it is, because the hospital is a lived building. It's a 24/7 building. And our prayer facilities are also, in some ways, 24/7. They're accessible at all times because you never know when someone may want to access that space.
Yeah, that's actually not moving on, but staying on that point. We've just had a WhatsApp message come in saying, absolutely, and taken from my recent hospital stay where I was very ill, I feel that your faith grows stronger and you have that sudden change of how you view the world. That's literally bang on the mark, isn't it? That's what you were saying initially about, somebody, the example that you gave was somebody who's lost a limb, unfortunately. Their entire world has changed around them within a matter of hours, minutes, days, and the facilities and the service that we provide through spiritual care have to reflect that and have that at the center of everything that you do. Am I right in saying that?
Absolutely. I'm so glad to hear from the sister to say that she's, the real lived experience of people utilising now. It's fundamental. Coming into hospital, particularly for unwell, think about COVID. When that happened, all the things that we thought were normal and part of everyday life, flying on holiday, travelling, seeing our friends and loved ones, going to the masjid and praying.
Yeah.
All the things that were normal to us all stopped. And I think when you confront your own mortality, I think sometimes in all the feelings and emotions that you will grapple with, sometimes you can find a real sense of clarity about what's important in life to you.
Yeah.
And sometimes people focus on family and loved ones. Some people focus on their dreams and aspirations. What do I really want to do with my life? And for many of us, it might be our faith and connecting with our own faith and spirituality in the Almighty.
Yeah.
And those are the transformational experiences that will happen to people in hospitals.
Yeah.
And for us as a service, it's saying, how do we serve people better? And I'm so glad that the sister was able to utilize those spaces. And again, it's all accessible. So, if someone has a wheelchair, and again, sometimes I'm in the office and I'll get a call from a ward saying, brother, what time are the prayers and what time could I go down? I'm in a wheelchair. And of course, you're more than welcome to go. It's accessible because that's what we want. We don't want people whose faith is strong and it's a huge part of their life not to be able to access these services.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, moving on slightly from the facilities that we have and more about you, what does a day in the life of a chaplain look like? I'm sure everyone will be, I'm quite intrigued actually from the conversation, the short conversation that we've just had. You come into work on, say, I don't know, a Tuesday, Wednesday morning. What does that day look like for you?
We never know what the day is going to look like. And this is the thing of a chaplain. One of my colleagues describes it as sometimes you're like a nurse, you're present on the ward, you're there, you're engaging, and sometimes you're a paramedic, you're called in and you've got to go to some sort of urgent situation or an emergency response. And there is no uniform day for a chaplain. In my role, it's about making sure that the service is working well, that if there are any issues or concerns that we're managing or dealing with them, or if something happens, how do we respond to that as a service? But on the day-to-day, it's visiting patients. Patients are at the heart of what we do. It's about seeing people, supporting people, being alongside them. And linked to that, it's making referrals to our colleagues. If I come across a patient and I think, actually, this person probably really value a Muslim chaplain to come and visit them, then I'll make the referral to my colleagues so that these people don't get missed. With all the hundreds of people in hospital coming in and out, all that happens. It's about capturing that information. Then it's staff support. Sometimes staff will want someone to talk to, someone that might be dealing with difficult, challenging situations on the ward or at home, whatever it is. It's offering support to them. It may be offering guidance to managers or to the hospital itself on faith and belief matters or chaplaincy issues. There is all of that. It's making sure that our prayer facilities are being well maintained. Again, it's one of the things I do first thing in the morning. I'll go into those spaces and just have a look to make sure it's okay. I'll spend a bit of time to say a small prayer, but I will make sure that those spaces are functional, there's no issues there, so that people throughout the day can utilize them. And then there's all sorts we do training, so we will do training for staff, and that's about helping them better understand our service. Like you said, most people outside in the community may not realize there's a chaplaincy service. Muslim brothers and sisters, there are Muslim chaplains that you can access. So if, God forbid, you're in hospital and you'd like to see a Muslim chaplain, you can say to a staff member, I'd like to see a Muslim chaplain, and that referral will get passed on. Yeah, those are the things that we try and make sure. Again, we're Team UHL. Yeah? We work together, we support one another. We're all committed to the best outcomes for our patients. And as a part of that, it's the commitment to spiritual care alongside physical, mental, social, all that's provided. And again, that integrated relationships, the training and supporting staff to better understand our service. And then there's 101 things that could go. But the thing I would say, the day may not start in the morning. So we have a 24/7 on-call service. There's always a chaplain available. So 2 o'clock in the morning, if a family is in a critical situation or there's an emergency or someone's dying, there's always a chaplain accessible. And again, that's a part of our commitment. So it may be that actually in the middle of the night, the day started at 1 o'clock in the morning because you were called in. And that's the beauty and the gift of chaplaincy, is that it's there with people, and life, like community, has no fixed timetable. It's not 9 to 5. It can be at any time. And I would just say that my team is amazing. I've got such amazing, caring, compassionate chaplains that they give 110% because they too are inspired by that sense of care for others, that sense of helping others and serving others. And that is at the heart of what we do. It's about serving others.
Yeah. It sounds incredible. And having that differentiation between each day and each moment of each day even, I'm going to assume something, and I think I'm about on the mark. It must be a real sensation of reward, what you do. Like it must be, do you go home at the end of the day and think, you know what, I've helped someone today?
Absolutely. I think that in so many ways, it's rewarding, it's challenging, but at the end of the day, the thing I often, before I arrive home, I thank the Almighty and say, thank you for the service that you allowed me to do today. May you guide me to better serve when I'm in hospital next. May you be the inspiration and the thing that moves me and that I can serve these communities better and serve our patients and staff better.
Yeah.
So in some ways, it's deeply rewarding, but in some ways, it's my life service to the Almighty.
Yeah.
So that,
which is a really beautiful way of looking at it.
Yeah, and that in itself, it's about my own faith journey. It's about my relationship with the Almighty, because we're all going to have to give account for what we've done in our lives. You know, different faiths will look at it differently, but I make a sense of I am accountable and responsible for my life. What am I doing with each moment of my day?
Yeah.
And what can I do to serve the Almighty, to serve humanity, to serve the world around me better?
Yeah.
And I hear this in my Muslim brothers and sisters. They echo this. They say, you know, within the hadith, it talks about serving humanity. It's about the importance of serving the sick. It's about feeding the hungry. It's helping those in need. Those values that we share are shared across all of my team, my chaplains of different faiths and belief, my non-religious chaplains. There is that care of serving others. For me, personally, that's the true reward, is I get the opportunity to go to work every day and serve the Almighty. And that, for me, is my personal reward. That's
really beautiful. Really, really beautiful, actually. I look at what I do with through a similar lens, as you know. So it's nice to have that echoed in what you do. So can you give us or a few examples of the kinds of things that a patient might like to discuss with a chaplain? So we talked about, your role in the on-call service that you provide, and your day can start, in the middle of the night or whatever that might look like. But in terms of, I guess, the average or typical asks from a patient, what are your top three?
So I think with conversations with patients, they often may take different directions. Again, as chaplains, we don't come with an agenda of this is what we're going to talk to the patient about, or this is what we're going to tell them or share them. We are a responsive service. We meet people where they are. Because where they are, again, life throws, ups and down challenges. People face traumatic experiences. And as part of that, we meet people where they are and we just speak to them. I think some conversations are often just that sort of general checking in with people. How are you doing? How's life going? What's been going on with you? And just listening to them as they share their life story. Often it begins with that conversation. It's just about, well, who are you and why are you in hospital and what's going on? And giving people the space and opportunity to share if they want to. If they don't want to, then that's perfectly fine. We give people space. We're not requiring people to talk to us. But I think there is that. I think sometimes patients will often talk about the uncertainty, fears, anxieties, the concerns that they are feeling once they're in hospital, all the challenges that they may be going through. And again, those are real, deep, personal conversations, because they may be talking about the fear of What's going to happen to me? What's going to happen to my loved ones? Am I going to die? All of those conversations may come about. Then it may be patients who want particular religious support. They want someone to pray with or someone to talk to understand what's going on. Maybe in a religious context, from a theological perspective, it's that conversation. So it's about how people make sense of life and faith and belief in the context of being unwell and in hospital. And I mean, just in the last week, so on Sunday I got called in, and one of the things that the patient said to me goes, I've been a decent person all my life. I've not done anything wrong, Why is God doing this to me? And only the Almighty knows what is written for a person, what's happening in a person's life. But that is often a question that we will come across. And again, it's about being alongside people to offer support. So those are probably the three kinds of areas that I often encounter. Just the person talking about what's going on in life, people talking about personally the struggles, the challenges, the feelings, the emotions, the fears, the hope, the dreams, all that's going on in life. And then maybe the religious, philosophical, spiritual conversation about, well, what's going on.
Why?
Yeah. Why is often...
That's a big one, isn't it? Why? I bet you hear that a lot.
Yes, and I think particularly in the very deep and distressing conversations. And we see people often in probably the most painful places emotionally, trembling, deeply upset, crying their eyes out. We see people in those moments, and we're there for them and just give them space just to talk about whatever is going on, to help them make sense of, to help them understand, to give them the space to open up and express what's going on with them.
Yeah, which is hugely important. And we've had a couple of texts come in that echo that sentiment. Aidan in Thermiston, Jazakallah for your message. It's so inspiring to hear you talk, Kartar. Sorry, Akil, could you scroll up slightly? There we go. It's so technical difficulties. Here we go. It's so inspiring to hear you talk, Kartar. Eye-opening. Thank you for sharing your experiences with us. We have an anonymous listener who's texted in saying the chaplaincy team was so instrumental in helping our mum during her last days of life in the hospital. Thank you for everything that you do. And then we've got another one that says, you go to hospital when you're sick, but this conversation has really put the importance of spiritual and pastoral care into perspective. From Muhammad, listening in on YouTube from my car. How does that make you feel when you read stuff like that and you know that you or your team have touched the lives of so many people in the community? This is well off the notes that we've got in front of us, but it's a discussion, so...
It's deeply humbling, really. I think that in some ways, the way I see it is, this is not me doing it, this is the Almighty doing it.
Working through us. Yeah.
And just the idea, and again, I think of it personally, if that was my mother or father, what is the care that I would want them to receive?
Yeah.
And I'd want them to have the best possible care. I would want them to feel cared for, not just taken care of, but actually cared for, to feel that they were valued and important as not just another patient, they were an individual. And so when I hear anonymous listener talking about the care that was given to her mum in the last days of life, or his mum, I'm just moved by that, because that's what we're here for. For me, it's those little snippets. Because again, sometimes you visit patients and you don't see the outcome, because sometimes people will be discharged from hospital and go on with life. And I often say a little prayer that says, wherever they are, may you be looking after them. May they be entrusted into your care, because all things are in your care. And I think that for me is it's a wonderful reminder each day. And, so on those heavy days when things are challenging and tough, it's reminding ourselves of actually how much difference it makes. And often when I'm in the Gurdwara or out in the community, and from time to time, you'll have family members or patients or people just come up to you and say, Baji, brother, thank you for what you did, or it was great to see you there. And again, because as chaplains, we are hospital professionals, we're part of the service in the hospital, we have confidentiality. So I don't go and approach people that I've seen in hospital and said, hey, how you doing? It's great to see you better. Because again, it's me maintaining that confidentiality of not disclosing that encounter I've had with someone in hospital. But when they approach me again, it's just, it's moving to know the difference that you've made in people's lives. And God willing, long may this service continue, and long may we be able to serve those families in those difficult times.
Yeah, I mean to that. So thank you to all of you who have been texting in. I'm just going to repeat the numbers for those of you who have just joined us. This is Ramadan Radio FM 87.7. We are also live on DAB Station 9, I believe. YouTube and Facebook as well. If you want to see us while you hear us, that'd be great. The WhatsApp and text number is 077 488 55055. That's 077 488 55055. If you'd like to call in and have a short conversation with either of us, probably more so Kartar than me, it's 0116 4822 086. We are talking about the spiritual care service and the spiritual care centre that the Leicester Hospitals charity is looking to refurbish, reconfigurate slightly, have the St Luke's Chapel built as part of the LRI grounds at the Royal Infirmary, that is. And we've got Kartar Singh here with us today talking about his work and his team and the facilities that he works from daily. So based off of that then, Kartar, what about staff? I'm mindful that we've got about 13 minutes left and we've got a few points that I wanted to really get through here. But staff members who have had a heavy day, I'm assuming, and I think rightly so, that the chaplaincy service sees them. What kind of services are provided to them? Is it similar to those that are provided to patients?
So the chaplaincy team offers a listening ears service. It's a confidential means of contacting a chaplain and be able to receive support. And that's provided to all staff. So anyone can access that, anyone can reach out to a chaplain. And I'll say this quite honestly, if you need to speak to a chaplain, you can just knock on our door and, the chaplain who will answer will be there at your service. And that's just how we are. But again, that's for staff. And often, staff will make requests through the listening ears service, or they may just email us directly or come to the office and just open up then. And sometimes it is, a staff member may have just had a really heavy day and they're thinking, I just need to go somewhere to clear my head. And sometimes their feet take them to the chaplaincy office. They'll just knock on the door and, we'll have teas and coffees and we have biscuits and those little things that just give people the space to just sit down and open up and share. And that's it, because again, our staff are human. When they see difficult, challenging experiences on the ward, when they've been supporting a patient or a family for a long time and that patient dies or things don't work well, it affects the staff because we spend so much time with patients on the wards. There is that connection that you have, and often that can be quite traumatic and challenging. Chaplains are there to offer support as one of the many support services that are offered in the hospital. It's enabling that. But also, if, God forbid, if a staff member dies, we offer support to the team, and sometimes, people aren't always able to go to the funerals. We can organize memorial services for that member of staff, for the team. Again, different ways of supporting staff members. But also, it may be challenging stuff that's going on in the wards, but also in life in general, because we don't just leave all the stresses of life outside the office door and we come into work. We sometimes carry that, and sometimes having someone to talk to about what's going on at home sometimes helps as a part of just helping them offload. And I sometimes think you're giving that heaviness to me so that I can just pass it on to the one who carries everything.
Yeah, that's a really nice way of looking at it. Is that something that you do, I'm assuming, regularly?
It varies, and I think it comes in waves because, again, it's a responsive service. So people who want to access us, it happens organically, it happens on the wards. Sometimes you meet someone in the corridor and the conversation might start up. Or I just see someone upset, and I just might stop and just say, hey, is everything okay?
Yeah.
And sometimes people will say, no, I need to go and find some space. Or sometimes they really needed someone to listen in. And I kind of think to myself, you've put me here for a reason. This encounter wasn't just a happenstance.
Yeah. So, you've been a chaplain for how long, Kartar, now?
So in the hospital since 2013, so nigh on 10 years. And when I say that, I think to myself, wow, how quickly time has passed. And I've been head of chaplaincy here in Leicester since last year, and it's an absolute privilege. I would say I have the best job in the world.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
We're similar in that sense. I feel the same. So, can you share a specific example or a case study of somebody who you've helped that's led to a happy outcome for them? Are you able to do that?
How much time do we have?
About 9.5 minutes. So a couple of minutes would be great on something.
I'll give you two that come to mind. One is, so we offer a 24/7 on-call service, so a chaplain could be contacted at any time. And I remember my very first call out, and this is in 2013, and I was called to the intensive care unit, and there was this elderly Sikh gentleman, and he's got all sorts of tubes and all sorts of machines around him, and it doesn't look like he's really seeing what's going on there. He just looks out of it. And his abdominals are riddled with cancer. They're saying that he's bleeding internally, and it's being really difficult to control. It's not looking like he's going to survive. And his daughter is not from the city, and his son's out of the country, and it's end of life. And I spent quite a lot of time with that gentleman. I supported the family, and the family requested prayers, and I spent time in prayer with the gentleman during this time, and I spent quite a bit of time in prayer, and I just thought to myself, first out of hours call, it's quite intense. And after doing the prayers, we did an ardas, which is a supplicatory prayer, and after talking to the family, I left, and I thought, okay, well, the outcome doesn't look great. This person looks like he's going to die. And then a week later, he was out of intensive care.
Oh, wow.
And he was on the wards. And the strange thing was, when I came onto the ward, he goes, I remember you came and did prayers. And I thought to myself, when I saw you in that state, I didn't realize you actually were comprehending what was going on around you. He was just in a very different state. And then I saw him get better. And the last time I saw him, I don't know where he is now, I saw him at the Gurdwara.
Oh, amazing.
And I thought to myself, amazing care from staff. But in that moment, I thought someone else may have done something to help this chap on his journey.
Yeah.
And that for me was just one beautiful example amongst many. Or there was a patient who was approaching end of life, and I happened to come on the ward. And for about the 15 minutes or so I was there, because his son was with him, he was like conscious and awake with what was going on in the room. And the family had requested prayers, so I did the prayers, and he heard all of the prayers, and then I left. And the son told me afterwards, he goes, before that he was not really conscious. Just before you arrived, he just kind of looked around and was like, okay, what's going on here? And he goes, soon after you left, he went back out of consciousness, and then he deteriorated towards death. And I think to myself, in some ways I was sent there for those moments.
Yeah.
But the last one I will share with you really quickly is, it was a young baby on the neonatal ward, and lots of breathing issues, very, very small baby, lots of concerns, lots of fears, supporting the family, supporting young mum and dad, just very, very difficult experience. And then week after week, just coming in, the family's requesting just supporting the family, being alongside them. And each week, just seeing, initially you don't see much change, and it's still touch and go, and there's some days it's looking better, and some weeks it's not looking so good. And I still remember just seeing him get bigger, and I still remember his leg, him kicking, and that was just a really positive sign that he's kicking out now. Yeah. That's a really great thing to see. And then being there on the last day when he was going to be discharged home, and just seeing that journey that the family went through, and the fear and anxiety and stress that the family would have been through. And you will understand this.
Yeah.
But just being there on that journey and seeing this child grow, and then happy birthday to that child wherever they are.
Oh, amazing. That's really incredible, because it's important to recognise that it's not just adults that you provide a service to, right? It's the children's hospital as well. It's the staff. It's everyone that's involved in the hospital at any specific time. We have another message in. Thank you both for sharing such special memories. How do we get involved and support the fundraising appeal? We are just about to get onto that, actually. I think we've got about 5 minutes left. So Kartar is going to talk a little bit about the the new facilities that we're fundraising for. And then I'm going to speak a little bit about how you can get involved and how you can either support the fundraising by making a donation, or you can fundraise on our behalf. Kartar, the new facilities, how will they help the day-to-day service that the chaplaincy team provides? And can you give us an idea of the kinds of things that will happen within them?
So in terms of the spaces that we have now, we have the current chapel, we have the Muslim male and female room, and we have the Hindu Sikh room, the Dharmic room. We're going to have a new chapel built. Again, that provides a space for Christian colleagues around from the city to have a space for their prayers, for services, just a beautiful space for people to sit in. What is currently the chapel will become a virtual shared room. We'll have a video screen wall, and that could become anything. It's a neutral space. It can be there to facilitate whatever it is that we might need in those spaces. And for the Muslim male and female rooms, I've described them already. They are just rooms. They're plain rooms. And I get it. Any Muslim brothers and sisters say, well, your focus is on prayer. But when you go to a masjid, there's a feeling about that space. It's a prayerful space. It has a sense of this is what this space is for. There's a beauty to it as well. And I want to capture some of that and bring that into the hospital and just make it so that a Muslim brother or sister who comes into those prayer rooms appreciates the thought that's gone behind beautifying the rooms. Not beautifying it so it's distracting, but beautifying it in a way that reminds you and inspires you about that relationship.
Fits the purpose of why you're there.
Absolutely. And it creates that prayerful atmosphere for you. And for any non-Muslim looking at those rooms will think, wow, what a beautiful space. And the same goes for each of the rooms that we've thought through. In terms of the chapel, the features and design ideas that we have for that. For me, as a Sikh, I want a Christian to go into that space and think, wow, what a beautiful place of prayer where I feel maybe closer to God.
Yeah.
In those moments. Maybe it's just a beautiful space where I can sit and have a few moments peace. Because in the hospital, if you've ever been in hospital, there's always noise, there's always things clanging and clattering, there's things happening at all times. One of the beauties of our multi-faith spaces are there's a sense of peace and stillness in them.
Yeah.
You rarely get in a hospital. And it's, for me, it's bringing that to life. And again, the thinking through, so the Muslim male and female room, they will have a similar design, but the theme will be slightly different. And again, just contrasting, just so that, again, the experience... And I remember when the designs were being showed the first time, again, to all the listeners, when we were being shown the designs the first time by the interior designers, the one face I was looking at when they were showing the Muslim prayer rooms was Aasiya's, because I thought, if my Muslim sister looks in this and she doesn't look happy, I think we've not done our job properly. But there was a wonderful smile that I saw. For me, there was a satisfaction that, yes.
It is incredible. If anybody wants to see more of them, please get in touch with me on aasiya.parekh@uhl-tr.nhs.uk, and I will personally send you over the concepts. We have a spiritual care brochure as well now, which I'll pull up to the screen here so you can all see it. They are available to collect from the Leicester Hospital's charity office, or you can pop down to Ramadan Radio FM and collect them from here. I've given some to Akil and the team here that have been kept aside, so please do pick one up if you're here. I'm going to go into very quickly how you can support the campaign. Ramadan Radio FM has pledged to raise £10,000 in support of this appeal, and there are two ways that you can get involved. If you'd like to make a donation, please go to www.justgiving.com/page/Ramadan Radio 2023, and you can make a donation there. If you'd like to be part of Team Ramadan Radio and fundraise on our behalf, or with us, should I say, towards that £10,000 pledge, then it's www.justgiving.com/team/Ramadan Radio 2023. Both of those pages are available. I will ask Akil to link them at the bottom of the video recordings of these sessions here. And you can get in touch with me either on my email that I read out before, or 07950886265, and we'll talk about it more. That's the end of our time today, unfortunately. Jazakallah so much for listening. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.